I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need to know. You here, get your number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Come on.
Because early on you was accusing me of being...
Cat, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, but you know, some of these people...
Martin tried to put me in my first dress. When he had to go on his hiatus, he tell me, Cat, when I come back, I need you. You my young partner. You my brother in comedy. When I come back, just promise me that my next movie, it'll be me and you. We gonna do it together. We gonna do some buddy cop shit. I said, Martin, you got my motherfucking word, my nigga. Go do what you gotta do. When you come back, I'm in your movie. Don't trip. I don't need to see the script or nothing. You know, we get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House 2. I almost died. And I gotta read this script from all these good white people. Where this nigga want me to get in a dress with him. And I'm literally saying to everybody, why is he in a dress again? You already played the old lady as an FBI agent. We can play anything now. We can be playing a dog catcher this time. Why do we need to be in a dress? And I get so mad, I say, you don't want me. You want Brandon T. Jackson. And that's who they went and got. Twice I said it, they went and got him. Just like I'm telling you, I had that other dude's work. I had all of it. All I did was say, I want to punch it up so it's not offensive to real niggas. And that's how I got in this position.
I sure hope I have a Club Shay Shay after this air.
It's gonna be in a dimension it's never been.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
The greatest thing floating in 2024. Mark the words. No way. In a whole different realm of business. Oprah coming next.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.
What's popping with y'all on this Friday, man? What's popping? I know it's early in the daytime and folks may still be at work. Folks may be tending to their families and their kids and everything, but I wanted to have the conversation. Say it ain't so, Joe. You know, it's so many people getting hit with these allegations and these sexual things that's going on, man. It is crazy. The Me Too movement is a movement that got laws changed. You know, it's a lot of movements that happen and don't nothing transpire from it, but the Me Too movement got laws changed. And ever since those laws has been changed, people have been going down. People have been going to jail. So I wanted to have a conversation, and I wanted to allow y'all to call into the show to give y'all perspective and y'all thoughts on it. I have the filed complaint from the U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York. And we know what type of time they on. But before I get into that, I want to read the article. This thing has made it to NBC, this article. So we're going to read this article. And, you know, I did a show a couple of months ago about Fat Joe. He put a lawsuit on Buddy before Buddy came and hit him with his lawsuit. So it was a defamation of character lawsuit that Fat Joe put on Terrence T.A. Dixon. His hype man, supposed to have been his friend for 16 years. Now they in court suing each other. I want to know, like, what's y'all thoughts about that? Because, man, you got people around you. You got to treat them right. You got people around you. You got to look out for them. And you got to watch them because they may not be looking out for your best interest and some shit might happen. And this is just crazy that these people spent so much time together and now this is happening. And if you pay attention to it, everybody around Fat Joe, you know, salute the Cuban links. He has been talking about this for years. Salute the Cuban links. Everybody around Fat Joe is complaining and whining and talking about how they was mistreated. So the federal civil lawsuit filed by Terrence T.A. Dixon comes month after Fat Joe sued him for slander and defamation. That's what I just said, man. That's what I had just said. So let's read this out. This according to NBC. Once your stuff make it to NBC, ABC, or CBS, it's dead serious. It's dead serious. Now, rapper Fat Joe is accused of forcing his former hype man to engage of thousands. Oh, see. The first sentence is already crazy. Forcing him to engage in thousands of sex acts with women in a $20 million federal lawsuit that also alleges he was underpaid, denied songwriting credits, and threatened. How is he going to prove already some foolishness that he forced him to engage in thousands of acts? All of these things are foolishness. Like, if you look at, I took some notes. Last month, we talked about Smokey Robinson. 2 weeks ago, we was talking about Kevin Lyle's allegations. Shannon Sharp. Yesterday, I did a show talking about Tyler Perry. They tried Jay-Z. Kanye West was in the news. Snoop Dogg was in the news just a couple of years ago. Cuba Gooding Jr. got hit with the allegations. We know about what's going on with Diddy now in this Fat Joe turn. This is crazy. So let me keep reading the article. Terrence T.A. Dixon filed a complaint Thursday in the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of New York against the rappers, members of his circle, and Roc Nation. Damn, he included Jay-Z Company into the file of the lawsuit. Yeah. Oh, man. Jay-Z gonna... I know it's Jay-Z Company, but is he going to get specific in his lawsuit with who was assisting him in the company? An attorney for Fat Joe, whose real name is Joseph Antonio Cartagena, said the allegations are completely fabrications intended to damage the rapper's reputation. The lawsuit says that Dixon was the rapper's hype man, on-stage entertainer, but also contributed as his lyricist, background vocalist, bodyguard, and creative collaborator from 2005 to 2022. You know, something that I'm starting to realize with a lot of these lawsuits and these civil lawsuits, in the great words of Jay-Z on one of his songs, shit was all good just a week ago. When the money dry up and the opportunity dry up, niggas get to complaining now. That's just something that I'm seeing, you know. And even in the Diddy lawsuit, Cassie was around for a decade. You know, in the Tyler Perry lawsuit or whatever we seen just yesterday, Homeboy did 85 episodes. I'm not defending these people, but, you know, Buddy right here, he was around for 17 years, nigga. What's the problem now? It alleges that Dixon authored and co-authored dozens of songs, including Congratulations, Ice Cream, No Problems, and Blackout. Plaintiff contributed lyrics, melodies, vocal phrasing, and conceptual design to these works, substantially shaping their final form as distributed to the public. The suit states, Dixon was underpaid, denied songwriting credits, and deliberately concealed from royalties and back-end compensation, according to the lawsuit. Cartagena controlled Dixon through psychological manipulation, intimidation, and persistent threats, the lawsuit states. It alleges that Roc Nation either knew or should have known about the rapper's behavior but took no action. Roc Nation, which is named as a defendant, did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Friday. Hold up now. He included Roc Nation in his lawsuit, but Fat Joe ain't been with Roc Nation for 2 years. Nothing but 2 or 3 years. When you think about it, he signed with Jay-Z and his company 2 or 3 years ago. This man has been a part of Fat Joe's camp for damn near 2 decades, nigga. Why you include him in the lawsuit? The 157-page document, which comes with a trigger warning at the top, also details allegations of sexual abuse. We're going to get into that too because I got the whole document. It alleges that Cartagena routinely brought women back to his hotel rooms and forced Dixon to engage in acts with them. Interesting. Sometimes in front of members of the rapper's inner circle. According to the suit, Cartagena frequently arranged and orchestrated these encounters, intentionally creating scenarios designed to reinforce plaintiffs' complete submission. It accuses Cartagena of remaining in the room to watch, record, and provide explicit directions and commands. Damn, so he on that Diddy shit? He on Diddy type time? It accuses Cartagena of remaining in the room to watch, record, and provide explicit directions and commands. Damn, Joe. Damn, say it ain't so, Joe. Dixon did not want to participate in these acts, the lawsuit states, but did so solely out of fear and intimidation, retaliation. During one alleged incident, Dixon refused and Cartagena canceled his flight home, leaving Dixon stranded with no money, the suit says. Dixon said that over a 16-year period, he estimated that he was coerced into more than 4,000 acts to maintain his standing within the enterprise. This gotta be cap, man. This starting to sound like cap. And I ain't defending Fat Joe. Y'all see on my channel a multitude of times where Fat Joe was talking about Puerto Ricans created hip hop, calling FBA's broke niggas, talking about Tariq Nasheed as their leader and all of that old type of foolishness. I had to go in on that because that was just straight foolishness. I also talked about how pride come before the fall. And this is interesting to see that he's in this situation after all of those things that has transpired over the last few months. The lawsuit also alleges that Dixon personally witnessed Cartagena in relations with minors. I'm not even going to say those ages or whatever. Cartagena's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, said Dixon's lawsuit is a blatant act of retaliation and a desperate attempt to deflect attention from a civil lawsuit the rapper filed in April, accusing Dixon and his attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, of extortion, slander, and defamation. The lawsuit from Cartagena says that things ended amicably with Dixon in 2019, and it wasn't until years later that Dixon alleged that he had been underpaid while working with the rapper. The suit says that Cartagena compensated Dixon handsomely for assisting him on tour and denies Dixon's allegations that the rapper had relations with youngins. It further accused Dixon and Blackburn of trying to extort Cartagena for money. We didn't just sue a disgruntled former employee trying to revive a false claim from 15 years ago. We sued the lawyer behind it all, Tacopino said in a statement. Damn, they suing Buddy Lawyer too. The allegations against Mr. Cartagena are complete fabrications, lies intended to damage his reputation and force a settlement through public pressure. Mr. Cartagena will not be intimidated, he said. We have taken legal action to expose the fraudulent campaign and hold everyone involved accountable. In a response, Blackburn said Friday that Cartagena is desperate and grasping for the straws. We met with the law enforcement. Let's wait and see who they believe, he said. The lawsuit says Dixon suffered several emotional injuries, including chronic anxiety, fear, and symptoms consistent with PTSD. He remains in trauma-informed therapy, the suit says. You know, what's crazy about this also is that, like, it started with women putting these lawsuits out and complaining about what had been done to them. Now we see it's men coming out with lawsuits, snitching and telling certain things that had happened previously in the relationship that they had with the person that they're suing. So, you know, man, I'm going to pull this paperwork up, the file complaint, redacted and everything. I got it in my Google Docs. Let me see if I put it on the screen. That shit tiny, but I'm going to try my best to read it to y'all. And they got a trigger warning on it. Let's scroll down first and see if anything that wasn't said in the NBC article is being mentioned and highlighted in here. If anything really stands out or sticks out, pause. me scroll down. See, there's some craziness. Golly, this is a lot of paperwork. Buddy is, hold up. They mentioning rappers and everything in her. So they mentioned Pistol Pete is an individual believed to reside in the Bronx, New York, and Miami, Florida. Torres serves as defendant Cartagena's primary enforcer and street level operations captain, responsible for executing violent directives, enforcing internal discipline, and maintaining order within the Cartagena enterprise through fear, intimidation, and physical assault. Acting at the direction of defendants Cartagena, Torres coordinated and carried out acts of violence, threats, and retaliation and coercive control against those perceived as disloyal, including plaintiff. Torres' involvement in the enterprise retaliatory operations is corroborated by audio recordings and witness statements, which document his efforts to orchestrate an ambush against plaintiff and his use of coded enterprise language, such as pound him out and catch up, to issue violent orders on defendant Cartagena's behalf. Torres was not a peripheral actor, but a central figure in the enforcement hierarchy, entrusted with ensuring obedience through violence and reinforcing the enterprise culture of silence, dominance, and fear. So he is out here telling on the players, the people that he was with and around when he was a part of the team and everything, man. This shit crazy a little bit. Who is this woman right here? Erica Juliana Morimo. So they putting her out here. She actively participated in creating and managing fraudulent corporate entities to conceal and launder the proceeds of the enterprise illegal activities. Morimo's actions facilitated financial fraud, obstruction of justice, and unauthorized legal practice, causing direct injuries to the plaintiff. Sneaker Addict Touring LLC. Damn, they telling on. So he even telling on Fat Joe's sneaker company that's in Florida, and he also got one. Ain't it up New York? He trying to get this. He trying to get 20 million out of Buddy. He trying to get his company shut down. He trying to get Joe locked up. Damn, Buddy, what's popping? So Sneaker Addict Touring LLC is a Florida limited liability company owned, operated, and controlled by defendant Cartagena, utilized by the Cartagena enterprise as a vehicle for fraudulent activities. Specifically, Sneaker Addict Touring LLC fraudulently obtained Paycheck Protection Program PPP loans under false pretenses, representing non-existent or infatuated business activities to misappropriate federal funds. Damn. Whew. Okay, I want to read this part also about Roc Nation, what he's mentioning about Roc Nation in this paperwork. Roc Nation is a Delaware limited liability company with its principal place of business at blank. They got it blacked out where the location is at. Roc Nation manages defendant Cartagena business affairs, and upon information and belief has taken control over his music catalog, publishing rights, and intellectual property since 2017. Plaintiff alleges Roc Nation. Okay. See, let's see what he say about Roc Nation. Received at least 10% of all incomes earned by defendant Cartagena and his companies. Appointed a director who directly supervised plaintiff. Acted as a joint employee by exercising control over plaintiff's labor and reporting structure. Aided and abetted the diversion of plaintiff's royalties, the concealment of authorship, and the retaliation against plaintiff and his counsel through a baseless lawsuit. You know, I'm going to keep reading and I'm going to keep looking for the interesting stuff to point out in this lawsuit or whatever. But I want to say something though. Why did he include Roc Nation in the lawsuit to get to the money? To me, I feel as if he included them because he know that Roc Nation will throw Fat Joe to the wolves and just leave him out there hanging, and you know, they'll throw him to the wolves before your company will let you go to jail, die, or whatever before they lose their structure and their situation. So including Roc Nation in this is pivotal to what will happen though. But it's still foul though, man. Like men, I feel like men should be able to handle shit in different ways. I wonder if he went to Fat Joe and Fat Joe, it's stories about him being an enforcer and all of that in New York City long time ago, even before people have seen him the way they see him now. And I wonder what was said and what had happened. Okay. Look, he even telling on his taxes and everything. So the misappropriation of performance fees and per diem. Throughout the plaintiff's tenure, defendant Cartagena and his enterprise, including defendants Rock Nation, Sneaker Addict LLC, Rich Player, and accountant Doe, deliberately misappropriated substantial sums of contractually designed for plaintiffs' services at performances and public appearances. These allocations were explicitly included in booking contracts, performance rides, and event agreements executed by defendants. Performance agreements routinely and explicitly allocated approximately $3,000 per show for the specific role performed by plaintiff as defendant Cartagena's primary hypeman and creative stage presence. Upon information and belief, on one occasion, defendant Cartagena pocketed a $30,000 payment from Live Nation earmarked for All the Way Up tour and used it to pay off personal IRS tax liabilities rather than compensate the plaintiff. Nigga, you shit. A nigga in debt with the IRS, it's best you stop working with this guy. Cause he gotta prioritize the IRS before he prioritize you, or he gonna be locked up. So, shit. It's best you move on. Cause ain't that what Joe got locked up for in the first place? On the IRS? God, he trying to get Buddy back in jail. Okay, so here go a piece in this article. We just on page 18. It's 157 pages. I know I might not be able to read all of that. I'm just pointing out some of the things that seems interesting to me, but that's a whole lot, man. And also, y'all see the number up under me if y'all want to call in and give y'all perspective on these lawsuits and these allegations against these celebrities and things and what y'all thoughts about it. Call into the show. I will highly appreciate it, man, and I won't waste your time. Don't waste my time. Let's get to it, though. So in this piece of the article, it says nobody leaves Terror Squad in one piece. He often reinforced this threat by openly referencing former associates who had suffered violent acts after falling out of favor. For example, defendant explicitly invoked the notorious assault on Louis Cuban Links Taban, who was viciously attacked, permanently scarred, and publicly humiliated following his departure from defendant's circle. Cuban Links be standing on business talking about Fat Joe too. If y'all ain't subscribe to Cuban Links channel, I suggest y'all subscribe to his channel because he been talking and giving out information for a long time, spitting the truth. These statements were not mere idle threats or exaggerations. They constituted explicit and calculated warnings deliberately issued to plaintiffs to convey that any acts of resistance, disloyalty, or demand for fair treatment would inevitably lead to severe physical harm, public disgrace, professional sabotage, or worse. Through these sustained and credible threats, defendant intentionally reinforced the message that plaintiff had no viable path to safely exit their work relationship or demand rightful compensation without facing devastating personal consequences. Damn. Defendant methodically cultivated an atmosphere where fear of violence, retaliation, abandonment abroad, and career destruction permeated plaintiffs' daily experience, effectively destroying any notion of autonomy or genuine choice. Wow. So Fat Joe was doing it the American way at the end of the day because that's how America obtained their power through slavery, through fear tactics, through demanding this and not letting people just be able to succeed on their own. This is what I wanted to get to because this is a civil lawsuit, but with all of these SA allegations, you know, these SA allegations, this is what will make it criminal. Because I know when Diddy was first going through it, I was like, he gonna pay them people off and it's gonna be over with. That's what I was thinking, you know. But I was thinking wrong. Because at the end of the day, them putting criminal acts in the civil lawsuit will make the police, the feds, the Homeland Security, whoever pick it up. So we get ready to read Section E 132. Sexual exploitation and humiliation under duress. In addition to systematic financial exploitation and relentless psychological abuse, defendant Cartagena deliberately subjected plaintiff Dixon to repeat a severe sexual coercion, manipulation, and humiliation, which further deepened defendant's total control over plaintiff's autonomy, physical safety, and labor. Throughout plaintiff's 16-year period working closely with defendant, plaintiff was routinely coerced into engaging in sexual acts with women, specifically brought by defendant Cartagena to hotel rooms and private gatherings, following performances and studio events. Defendant Cartagena frequently arranged and orchestrated these encounters, intentionally creating scenarios designed to reinforce plaintiff's complete submission. Defendant Cartagena regularly monitored these encounters closely, frequently remaining in the room to watch, record, and provide explicit direction and commands. Damn, this is Fat Diddy. That's what we're going to start calling this nigga, Fat Diddy. Plaintiff didn't willingly consent to participate in these acts. You know, at one point, he had to go home. You know, Fat Joe, you separated from Fat Joe, but you came back. At one point, you got to hold yourself accountable. People will say that, you know, people take advantage of you with money. They'll do this and that with money. At one time, you got to hold yourself accountable, man. Who is this? Hold on. I hate the. Can you talk about EHQBM Amber Rilla next? I don't know anything about that. Call into the show and educate me on it. If you want to talk about it, you see the number up under my face. Call into the show and educate me about it. If it's on topic. If it ain't on topic, then I'ma hang up in your face, dog. But salute to you. Thank you for checking out the channel. If you new here, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button to help me get into the algorithm. You all are greatly appreciated. But accountability, though, a lot of times when I read these lawsuits and I listen to these things, these people be guilty of the acts and the things that they do, though. But at the end of the day, the person got to hold themselves accountable. If you forcing me to do anything, I'm not coming back. It's just that simple. I'm not coming back. And then you can't force me to do nothing. You got to be willing to stand on your square. For real. The defendant's use of coercive sexual acts underpinned by the threat of job loss, abandonment, and physical harm, meaning the definition of man, this words I ought be wanting to say on my channel on her. The definition of trafficking by coercion under 18 USC 1591. These acts were induced not by choice, but by fear, dependency, and fraud. Each encounter carried an unspoken message: refuse and you'll lose everything. The plaintiff estimates that over 16 years, he was coerced into more than 4,000 acts to maintain his standing with the enterprise. The defendant used these acts not merely for gratification, but as a control mechanism. You know, like, I'm going to tell you something. When we was a little bit younger, and well, when I was a little bit younger, I don't want to include y'all in my age or whatever, though. But when I was a little bit younger, y'all remember this in y'all 40s or late 30s or whatever, when everybody was talking about the Illuminati, you got to do this and do that to get this and get that. In the entertainment industry now, we seeing that was a reality because these people use, you know, they use these things as a control mechanism because if I'm going to give you $1 million, if I'm going to give you this opportunity, I need to have something over your head so I know you won't run off. And it seems like they're using these acts to control the people so they can't get away. Let me keep reading. By degrading plaintiff repetitively and in front of others, he undermined plaintiff's autonomy, silenced his resistance, and made him emotionally and physically dependent on defendant's approval. The psychological toll was immense. The plaintiff developed symptoms consistent with PTSD, including flashbacks, intrusive thoughts, panic attacks, and emotional detachment. He remains in trauma-informed therapy and continues to experience debilitating anxiety. These experiences were not private or confidential. Enterprise members, including, damn, he's snitching on the other members that knew that he was going through things. JB, Raw, Pistol Pete, and security staff routinely witnessed and participated in these coercive dynamics. Roc Nation, which assumed managerial control over defendant Cartagena's business operations in 2017, had ample opportunity to detect, disrupt, or report these patterns of abuse. Instead, it enabled and benefited from them, earning commissions, royalties, and reputational capital off the backs of plaintiffs' silence. The four sexual conducts described in this section, coupled with the economic manipulation and verbal threats, forms of textbooks, examples of trafficking under federal law, warranted trouble, damages, injunctive relief, and criminal referral. Okay. Oh, man, they got my boy picture right here. Forced exhibitionism and enterprise sexual culture. Wow. Let me read this part. The defendant repeatedly referenced what happened to former Terror Squad artist Cuban Links, who was physically assaulted and slashed across the face, leaving him with a permanent nerve damage and visible scarring. And that's the outcome after the slashing. They did that dog. They did Cuban Links dirty, man. That's dirty. I don't even want to read that part because I like what Cuban Links be talking about. I'm going to keep going, though. So this part of the article 168 say each episode of forced sexual performance, humiliation, and public coercion constitutes a separate predicate act under the TVPA and RICO, entitling plaintiff to compensatory, punitive, and injunctive relief. You know, Buddy just trying to get his money, man, for what he feel like he deserved for what happened to him. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if Fat Joe even got that bread like that. Because when Fat Joe be performing and doing music, music ain't making no money no more. Fat Joe on YouTube just like me right now doing podcasts, man. At the end of the day, this money ain't as easily accessible as it used to be in the music industry. That's why when people fall out with other individuals and they see that they ain't getting no opportunity to get back on, they want to throw these lawsuits out here, get the snitching and all of that. Snitching, telling right now in snitching culture, man, I remember it used to be stop snitching campaign. Something gonna happen to you if you tell on somebody or whatever. Now this is just regular shit. This is just what people do every day. Like if you participating in illegal activities or anything going on crazy, man, you better remove yourself, big dog, because at the end of the day, you know what type of time it is, man. Real spill. I'm going to read a little bit more of this article, and I'm going to get up off of this thing, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Oh, hold up. Hold up. The defendant for exploitation was not limited to artists and collaborators. Throughout his time working for defendant, plaintiff personally witnessed defendant engage in sexual relations with youngins who was 15 or 16. Minor Doe is a 16-year-old Dominican girl residing in New York. In exchange for cash, clothing, and payment of her cell phone, defendant would get oral and other things performed on him by her. On one occasion, while driving in New York City, Minor Doe asked the defendant for money to pay for her cell phone. being notoriously cheap, the defendant claimed to be broke. The upset minor, who began yelling, cursing, and screaming, plaintiff begged defendant to pay the minor's child's phone bill, which was less than $100. Minor 2, a Caucasian female. Ooh-wee, he with the Beckies too. She is not a U.S. citizen. The defendant began having relations with her when she was a certain age. Defendant flew minor 2 to New York City, and oh man, he done flew him out. You know what that is? I had Judge Joe Brown on the show. He said, the Mann Act of 1910, where you can't be having relations with any female that's, you know what I mean, you're not in a relationship. Well, you don't even know if you got to be in a relationship or not, but you can't be traveling across state borders trying to have a relationship acts. That's the Mann Act of 1910. Y'all can go research that too if y'all ain't never heard of it before. So minor 2, body being adolescent and not fully formed, defendant paid for her to get a Brazilian butt lift. Oh my God. He paying for kids to have surgery, and who is the surgeon? Because the surgeon should be locked up for that, because he should ask if she's a legal age. This is hard crimes, though. This could create, look, they got pictures. Oh, he got pictures with him. Fat Joe Dunn. Joe Dunn. If they got actual pictures in there. Buddy got too much information. We just on 27, man. I can't read all of this. I can't read all of it. Hey, in my community section, that federal complaint is in the community section. I highly appreciate y'all tuning in to my show. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. I had to do a live early today, man, because I just wanted to touch bases on this topic. You know, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button so, you know what I mean, I can trigger the algorithm. You all are greatly appreciated, man. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. Peace, love, plenty of abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone. Chill.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.